All right. It's me, Crimson 60620, making sure that everything is working as it should and as it working lovely and everything else. And how you guys doing today? Um, Today is gonna be an interesting little time because right now I am, quite frankly, I wanted to actually start off today with a little bit of okay, cool. Everything is working fine. It looks as if everything is good. I want to start off today with a little bit of a rant, guys. That shit is good. So, I am. I'm glad for everybody who actually decided to watch today. Thank you guys. And let's just move this just a little bit. Um, let's just bring it to me. Let's just bring it to me. I'm still in the dilapidated office. Of course I am, right? And quite frankly, I want to thank everybody who's watched, all of my subscribers, you lovely, lovely people who have chosen to subscribe. And yeah, yeah. I hope with all of the videos that I have, you guys are getting entertainment. And if you don't know, what I do is normally just create these long form videos, like I'm doing right now, and then cover several different videos, break it up into different topics, and you guys actually see the I don't know, results. Is results a good word of it? Good way of actually saying it, because basically I'm just having different things that I actually go over. And the oh shit, sorry about that. Um, just making sure I just share the different things. Uh, Posts, share my different videos where it doesn't cause any issues. Yes. Um, I was gonna actually play Farming Simulator, but of course, like you saw the name of the video, because basically, and you know what we're gonna actually be doing. And I want to share it to one final group. Uh, duh, 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 duh. Oh God, I have. There we go. Okay, cool. Come on, guys. More options. Direct, no, not direct. And I really should actually do this, I guess before I start streaming. But hey, yeah. Oh, that shit is good. Good ice cold motherfucking water. And so I'm here today. Um, to kind of actually, this relates to the topic, but not quite really. There are issues specifically going on with the way our fucking system actually works. And you know what kind of kills me about a lot of these issues is they only perpetuate because people allow them to motherfucking perpetuate. The system as it stands, and this is no big revelation for people that watch me or may have had conversations about. I've had conversations with him. The system is inherently broken. Now, it's not broken from some nefarious scheme to like control the world or some shit like that. No, most companies don't give a fuck. to think outside of make me money, yes, good. Cost me money, bad. Not really make me a lot of money, still bad. But one of the things that irritates the fuck out of me is the fact that we have people in, let's just say, management or adjacent to management that have completely given up their motherfucking sense of, hey, doesn't that seem like it doesn't work? All in order to fucking chase a position or power. But in the end, they're only giving up their dignity and respect. Now, I know I am somebody who, let's just say, you have to justify your leadership of me other than my position says so. And I know that's different from what a lot of people actually would accept. But this appeal to authority bullshit, I don't get it. I don't get that you have an inherent right to just say, my way is the best because I'm a fucking leader. When you actually haven't done the task, or you're so far removed from what the task once was, that you think, well, I did it in the past, or they quote unquote trained me to do it, so I know what's right. In the end, no. Your plan, the best laid plans, don't survive first contact with the enemy. And that's what this is. A lot of people that are in management, they just don't fucking know. What does they say? You're promoted to your level of incompetency. Quite literally, there are people that are promoted and have gained positions where they just don't fucking know. And it's quite sad because they get an air and sense of entitlement that they've done it well and they've done what they needed to do. When in a sense, the only thing they've done is just got into a position where they're just a little bit more than taskmasters. Or hell, may even just be taskmasters. And I get it. No one wants to think their position is a bullshit job, but this is giving rise to, everything that's going on is giving rise to the fact that, let me move this camera just a little bit, of what bullshit jobs really are. So, yeah. I find it pretty enlightening of what's going on. And just because you have a title or position behind your name doesn't mean your job isn't bullshit. So, let's get into the meat of the video. Alright, guys. So, bringing up the game. Let's have some fun talking about this. And shout out to the Fuel Rats, where I got stuck yesterday. They couldn't quite save me because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I'm getting into Elite Dangerous, which is all kinds of fucking fun. And I'm currently on my way to see if I can actually make it to the Soul System. And if you don't know what the Soul System is, it's the home of the Terrans. And speaking of home of the Terrans and the Soul System, after that I'm going to try to track my way to Beetlejuice. Look it up. Let's get to the video. So I was just going through, if you don't know, it was a recent show called on CBS Access where they gave you 1 month free. I went to go cancel mine and they gave me an extra month free. So yay. But you actually see, um, you actually see that a lot of these, it Star Trek Picard. Now, I God damn it. One of the things that have actually I find that's actually kind of weird is that a lot of people that are complaining about these shows, a lot of the people that are, um, especially, I haven't watched Discovery. I haven't. I just haven't because, for one, I like the current time, well, the future timeline and all the prequel shows. That kind of gets it's outside of the canon timeline that I like. And I actually haven't watched the Abrams movies. Go figure, right? But what is what I find myself doing and watching with a lot of the Star Trek mythos that I've actually watched. Um, I'm in sin. I am literally in a system called sin. But a lot of the shows that I watch with Star Trek, like of course I've watched The Next Generation. I think almost all of the episodes. I've almost watched almost all of the episodes of DS9 and Voyager. Now that's the current timeline, and I've also seen all of the Next Generation movies. And what actually kind of pisses me off, what pisses me off about these people that are complaining about Picard and the fact that they say Star Trek isn't Star Trek, it's as if we didn't watch the same shit. They say Star Trek is paranoid or Star Trek has actually lost its way. And it's almost as if we didn't watch the same shit, my man. And the funny fucking part about it is, I know, I know from just watching it. Like, if you have a complaint about the direction that Star Trek Picard is going in, then my man, you kind of didn't watch the concurrently running shows of DS9 and Voyager. Because yeah, Starfleet actually did some bogus shit. And quite frankly, shit. Wait, pilot federations wish you luck on your new journey throughout the stars as you progress beyond the requirements to access the Pilots Federation space. Your Pilots Federation permit has been revoked. Any ships or modules currently located in the district must be transferred to the station of your choice. At your request, the galaxy awaits. Fuck. Mostly aimless. Yeah, I know I went mostly aimless. Fuck it. But yeah, fucking idiot. Um, I've went through and I'm actually keeping these all videos separate about the. I'm keeping all these videos separate just to just address like the bad shit that they're saying and like I don't know the best way to put it. These people are fucking lunatics. They don't know what fucking story structure is, character development is, or going back and building on a fucking franchise and characters. These are all motherfuckers who really think that Luke would have remained a motherfucking starry-eyed, bushy-eyed Jedi that was just above it all. And I'm not saying that there isn't cynicism that comes with life, and we should always write hopeful characters later on as old crotchety old man. But that tends to happen. Even the most hopeful character, after a big fucking disappointment, they tend to be deflated. That's the best way I can say it. They tend to be a little deflated. And I'm sorry, it's one of those things where I get that sarcasm and satire is an issue where a lot of these people, how do I put it? They don't fucking understand sarcasm or satire, and what ends up happening is these motherfuckers start taking a beloved character as if they're not supposed to change or become shit. Like they're not supposed to change or become different or grow or face disappointment, and they're supposed to be, oh yeah, this one bad thing happened, so but they're supposed to get up and bounce around where just like a lot of tragic shit happened. And so what I'm gonna do is go through these videos of these motherfuckers and call them out. Not to say that I'm the biggest Star Trek fan or things of that nature. It's the fact that a lot of shit that people say, oh, this and that is bad, or oh, this and that is fucked up. It's because they're fans. And what I mean by that is it's always something that they want that they it's always something that they want that they don't know what they want, but they want things to change and grow, but they want things to stay the same. And that's a fucking problem because you'll never be happy. You'll never be happy. You'll always make up things in your own head canon, and when things are spelled out, because they don't make up in your head canon, then you have an issue. And so, yeah, let's kind of go with that and make sure that we are addressing that shit and going through these videos, okay? So, let's go. Let's go.
The first season of Star Trek Picard is behind us. Much has been said about it already, and plenty more will be said. But I am of the opinion that the series which could and should have been the revitalization that Star Trek needed, ended up being yet another nail in the coffin of a once great franchise.
Okay, so he's actually not saying why is a nail in the coffin just yet, but like just from this alone, it sounds as if they didn't do it like I wanted to, so it's a fucking problem. So let's hear him explain this shit. God, it's 22 minutes of this bullshit. Let's go.
This post-mortem of sorts, I will begin by establishing how this modern iteration of Star Trek differs from classic Trek, and using some select examples, demonstrate how that has manifested itself in Picard.
So, specifically, Star Trek losing its way. From the classic series, fucking yes. Next Generation solved that fucking problem. I mean, I hate to sound glib, but when Gene Roddenberry died, specifically, Star Trek took a darker turn, and that was on the Next Generation. That literally was on the Next Generation that Star Trek took just a darker tone in general, because Gene Roddenberry didn't like personal conflict or interpersonal conflict. And if you go back to the first season of Star Trek, The characters were really flat, especially with Star Trek. Now I have the benefit of watching other things by Gene Roddenberry. I believe he was EP of Andromeda. Definitely Earth Final Conflict. Gene Roddenberry had a few great fucking shows, but he wasn't exactly the most. He had some strict, rigid guidelines for his shows, and once he was no longer a part of that, then there were some dramatic changes. But let's continue.
Then I'll address the immense shortcomings of the finale and why this was a waste of opportunity for Star Trek as a whole.
Let's see why he says that Star Trek was losing its way.
Star Trek today is a franchise where the fan base has been fractured, and a major cause for this fracture is the handling of politics. Now I know...
Alright, this is like a weird one because Star Trek was always and has always been very progressive. Just throwing it out there. And I have a few things in my back pocket and I'm going to pull it up as it comes up. But politics, quite literally, it was James T. Kirk in the original show going around and saying, hey, this is what we feel is better. Do this shit. That's all the original show was. Thank you, Silver. Thank you, Silver Maddox. But that's all the original show was. The fucking crew of the Enterprise going around and says, hey, this is the way we think shit should be. That's all the original show was. Next Generation was the same thing. It was, we're better than you, do this shit. But hey, it's not like you can go to CBS All Access for a free month and actually watch all the original shows from the original Star Trek to the Next Generation, DS9, and Voyager. But let's continue.
Know what the great defenders among you will say. Star Trek was always political. It was always woke, if you will. We just didn't notice before, or some variation thereof. To that, I respond, not quite. Star Trek was always political. This is true, and that is good and well. There is no shortage of examples of...
This is exactly what I'm talking about. This shit right here. They literally had an episode where they made fun of people talking about, well, he's black and white. No, he's white and black. Like, literally, this is one of the things. But Star Trek wasn't this political. They showed the absurdity to the shit. But let's continue.
Of this in the original series, which dealt with both racial issues, social issues, and tensions in times of war. On top of that, the Next Generation era dealt with both what it means to be human, matters of reason versus faith, and much, much more. One of my go-to examples is from the original movies. By way of allegory, Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country dealt with the nuclear meltdown in Chernobyl and the subsequent fall of the Soviet Union. At its core, that movie was about learning to move on from decades of hostilities.
Now, keep in mind, I didn't watch this movie. I watched 3, I watched some of 2, but I definitely watched the fuck out of 4. Like, that shit was funny. Like, what is a colorful metaphor? I mean, like, this shit was hilarious. And I really did enjoy Star Trek 4, which a lot of people actually enjoy, even though it was one of those fish out of water stories. Well, I guess it would be well out of water, right? I don't know. Just me. But let's continue.
Both sides letting the hurt, mistrust, and resentment go and move towards building a new future. Maybe not as friends, that would be pushing it, but no longer as enemies, and that's a start. This theme was also recurring in the contemporary reunification on the Next Generation.
Okay, so... Okay. God, this is gonna sound bad. But the same problems were in the Next Generation that were in the motherfucking original Star Trek. The motherfucking Klingons, even though yes, Worf was on the motherfucking ship, the Klingons weren't. They were tentative allies of Starfleet. However, these motherfuckers in some of the off splinter groups weren't actually to be trusted. Shit, I remember the storyline where Worf met Klingon Jesus, and they actually had to do some political intrigue to motherfucking keep the political the political alliance, and it was tenuous at best, especially after his wife was fucking killed. Like, I know these things from the Next Generation. The shit in the Next Generation wasn't fucking peachy clean, or whatever the fuck it is. It was tenuous at best. At the best times, it was tenuous. At the worst, they just did straight up bullshit. Can we remember the Kardashians? And no, not the bloodthirsty, horrible, motherfucking oppressive ones. I'm talking about the ones that just try to kill everything. But let's continue.
Where Romulans and Vulcans learned to overcome their history of hostilities.
They didn't though. Like, quite literally, it was a problem happening with Romulans and Vulcans throughout the whole series of the Next Generation. And I mean, like, I'm gonna just throw this out here. If anybody remember the Dominion War, Starfleet did a lot of bullshit in that war. Did a lot of bullshit. But let's continue.
Not on a societal scale. That would have been blind optimism, which Star Trek never dealt in, but at an individual level, sowing the seeds for long-term societal change. In reality, change takes time, so one step at a time is the way to go. So yes, Star Trek was always political. More specifically, it was humanist. In being humanist, it would, on occasion, take shots at ideological positions either side of the political aisle held dear, but it would do so from a humanist point of view.
Okay, so this is something that I kind of find would to be a weird description of exactly what's going on. Like, when you look at the different settings for, I'm going to say, how do I put it? The different settings that you see for the TNG time frame, it wasn't exactly like, it wasn't exactly peaches and cream. I mean, like, it was a lot of shit that happened during the Next Generation time frame, and a lot of fucking darkness that happened. And during the subsequent other TV shows, spin-offs, and fucking movies from the Next Generation time frame, they weren't like Starfleet. From what the perspective that you actually saw, it was, you saw Starfleet from the perspective of the flagship of the fucking fleet, basically going around. I sometimes they were on the edge of known space. Sometimes they were going around their own territory in places that they had territorial rights for. But it's like basically Lewis and Clark, where the U.S. actually sent Lewis and Clark to the Pacific. They sent it to the expedition to the Pacific because it was a lot of undiscovered country. It was a lot of and yes, there were certain things between where Lewis and Clark actually started. Like they say, oh yeah, the U.S. continued to the other shore. But it was a lot of shit in the original Star Trek that they would go between and actually see. They would actually see, hey, this is here, and they would actually explore based on that. But don't get it wrong, they weren't exactly always just a lot of shit that I don't know. I'm off on a tangent, but let's continue.
Through the use of fictionalized rewritings of real-world events and situations. Other times, it would get its message across using entirely fictional events, but these had real-world implications and applications.
So Picard didn't do that. Literally, there's a question. The first season of Picard is one thing. It's really just about transhumanism. It is literally about transhumanism. And this is actually a popular thing that you see with a lot of science fiction because that's a big topic. What makes a human a human? At what point are you is AI sentient enough to be considered to have rights? At what point are human beings are more than just the flesh that they are made of? This is quite literally some of the things that transhumanism has actually determined. But I don't know. Let's continue.
Thereby revealing why some, at first glance, enticing positions might not have.
And this is the thing, like you have Kirk, Picard, Cisco, Janeway. Picard, Cisco, and Janeway are contemporaries. They are literally contemporaries within a same system of within the same system of time frame where it was a lot of bad shit that happened. But let's continue. It's just one of those things where it's just like a lot of these people who says, "Oh, Starfleet has lost its way." I don't know if they watch as many episodes that I have. And again, I'm not saying I'm a super fan, but I just one have a interested memory for like storylines, and two, actually saw some of the shit and just didn't trust everything that Starfleet did. But Carr didn't trust everything Starfleet did. He was just a fucking hotshot that kind of had a lot of shit broke his way because plot. But let's continue.
Moral footing, let's say, upon further scrutiny. In taking this approach to politics, Star Trek was universal. It always had a place for everyone, regardless of gender, ethnicity, nationality, religion, or political affiliation. Star Trek was a standard against which everyone, no matter where on the political aisle they stood, could compare their own beliefs and convictions, and perhaps see some matters in a light they hadn't seen before. That way, Star Trek could lead to change within the individual, sowing the seeds for long-term change in society, one step at a time. And this can't be stressed enough. No matter who you were, no matter what you believed, Star Trek didn't judge you. It gave you the opportunity to see the error of your ways.
But it kind of did. That going back to what I was saying before, literally the crew of both enterprises would actually come and say, "Hey, you're doing shit wrong. This is a way you can do it." Like the pilot episode of of the Next Generation was literally them saying like, "Hey, you can't fucking enslave an alien just to do what you want it to do." And yeah. But let's continue.
As such, Star Trek of old was universal. It was humanist. It no longer is. Under the helm of Alex Kurtzman, Star Trek has become partisan. It no longer unifies, it divides.
They live. Oh. We're not going to talk about how Jonathan Frakes actually came in and kind of touch up some episodes. Some of the best episodes that people actually wanted, like, are the ones that Jonathan Frakes actually touched up. Like, Jonathan Frakes has been a part of the creative, like, he's been a director in a lot of episodes, and like some of the best episodes, like, oh, this is Jonathan Frakes, he's directing this shit. Will Riker is directing this shit. Although one of the things that I would have wanted to actually ask, that episode that on the Ready Room that he did with Brent Spider. It's like, fuck, we need Xanatos back. We need Xanatos. But only, Gargoyle fans would actually get that. But let's continue.
Across partisan, ethnic, and ideological lines, and then proceeds to preach to the choir. If you don't in advance agree with the ideo-political positions the current showrunners hold, there will be no attempt to show you the error of your ways.
The only thing that I've seen a lot of people actually disagree with is, and you can say this is a little bit hypocritical, yeah, we should actually kill the androids to save all organic life. That's literally what a lot of people say. Well, the androids are going to bring back destruction. It's like, but we visited shit on them. It's like the scene in How to Train Your Dragon, which I have, the first one, where, Stoic says, they killed hundreds of us. And we killed thousands of them. Like, it's going back and forth to like, fuck. Like, but that's the only divisiveness that I see. Yes, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Or the one. And if you want to say that, yeah, of course, it breaks its own canon. But, let's continue.
As it were. Instead, you will be judged right in your face. On screen.
The fuck is this picture? Like, really, what the fuck is this picture? What is it? Like, okay, I understand that there's a thing where, like, a lot of people just don't understand narrative structure or understand how those visceral things that we've been trained to actually accept in the narrative structure, especially when it goes beyond their beloved canon, actually can hit a little bit harder than what they wanted to. But this shit is just fucking crazy. Like, they're judging you. They're judging you. So the fuck what if they're judging you? It only fucking hurts if you feel ashamed about the way you actually feel. That's the thing. If you think you're right, if you can give an explanation of why you feel that you're right, if you think your position is correct, the fact that they're judging you, your shit can stand scrutiny. That literally what it means. That literally what it means. If you think that they're judging you, then see if your point can stand scrutiny. But if your fifis are hurt because it made me feel bad because I hold this position, maybe the fact that you hold that position is a fucking problem. But let's continue.
By this iteration of Star Trek and off-screen by its creators. Case in point. In an interview, Alex Kurtzman stated that he would rather Trump supporters not watch his iteration of Star Trek, presumably because in his eyes, they're beyond redemption. As the more perceptive of...
Wait. That's impugning motives on somebody. Like, literally, I wouldn't want Trump supporters to watch this shit. Let's see. An authoritarian, like literally, the Starfleet is, let's be honest, it's an authoritarian military arm that fucking tells people what to fucking do. But, they're not using threats. They're just saying, this is fucking Starfleet, and we make the ships, motherfucker. I'm sorry. I don't want to give Trump supporters any ideas. We see Space Force has happened, or is trying to happen. Yeah, no. Not because, I don't want them to enjoy anything, but because this fucking populism mixed with authoritarianism. What is that? Fascism. That's what it turns into, fascism. But, who am I to judge, right? Oh, yeah. A person that has his fucking opinions, and if you feel sad about that, boo-hoo.
Of you may have noticed, I am not American, and squabbles along the American...
And as Mark Blythe puts it, there is such a thing called global Trumpism. Hello, Brexit.
American partisan divide is a fight in which I do not have a dog, and I certainly don't get a vote. I'm merely an outside observer looking into that circus, and with that hat, I will say that instantly dismissing what makes up half or more of Star Trek's core audience as essentially deplorables is
Wait, he didn't even say this shit. He just literally says, I don't want Trump supporters watching this shit. Like, for real? You're impugning motive on this motherfucker. Just as if he's impugning the fact that Trump voters are... I don't even know what he's impugning. Like, goddamn. You are literally impugning motives on this motherfucker. But let's continue.
Antithetical to what Star Trek has always been about. Kurtzman evidently isn't the only one unclear about that. In a more recent interview with Variety, Michael Chabon, who replaced Alex Kurtzman as showrunner on Picard midway through Season 1, said, "To the extent that I was aware of the kind of toxic fandom, the anti-SJW, sad little corner of fandom, you just disregard that."
So, let's talk about this. There are a contingent of people who are anti-SJW. And they're not really anti-SJW. They're SJW for what they perceive to be their people. And it is a sad little day when there is a small majority of people, not even a small majority, that's fucking oxymoron, but a small contingent of people who think it's mine. You can't change it. You can't put it different than what I want it to be. It's mine. It has to be this. It has to be what I want it to be. If you make a girl a Jedi, it's going to hurt my feelings because I've always wanted to be that Jedi. So no girls allowed. Fuck out of here.
Sometimes you're motivated to have things simply because it's possibly going to piss off or provoke people who seem to have missed the memo about just what exactly Star Trek is and always has been all about. This statement shows that Chabon also doesn't understand what Star Trek always has been all about.
Please enlighten us about what it's about. Does it have inclusiveness, as you said Star Trek does? Yeah, it does. Does it have an exploration of new life forms? Yeah, it kind of does. Does it have harsh political criticism like the original Star Trek does? What? It does? What? It's almost as if you're just mad because it doesn't cater to exactly what you want it to. But let's continue.
In labeling what he considers a sad little corner of fandom as toxic and anti-SJW.
There's always a contingency of a sad little corner of the fandom that are like that. Shit isn't fucking new. But let's continue.
He by implication labels himself and this iteration of Star Trek as SJW. Let me stress that Star Trek was never SJW. Do not confuse.
One of the characters that are on this screen, the center one, is motherfucking African American. And that's just like outside of universe. Now, Deep Space Nine, literally a single father, actually being a single father. Literally somebody who fucking was a religious symbol that still fought for everybody on DS9. That had a fucking Cardassian traitor that literally that he would look out for and protect Ferengis. Fucking Odo. Like, we're not going to talk about the Dominion War right after the Cardassian conflict, but we're not going to talk about that because, that would just throw shit all in your face. Or, the Borg invasion. But let's continue.
Humanist, which is what Star Trek was, with the authoritarian offshoot that has hijacked the term social justice today. On that note, Star Trek was also never woke, because wokeness involves an ideopolitically driven narrative of perceived injustice and oppression, and that perception is sometimes at odds with reality and recorded history. Worse yet, it divides the populace by their level of perceived victimhood and
So if you have a criticism on progressive ass Hollywood, which gives an air of progressiveness, not really progressiveness, then you can have that criticism. We can have that discussion. But to just say Star Trek was never woke, were we watching the same shows? Oh, you were comfortable with it because it didn't blare it in your face, or it didn't keep certain things keep going down the line in a week to week format, except when it did. Let's continue.
rather than seeking equality, it more often than not revolves around turning the tables on the perceived oppressor. What that means is that the showrunners run the risk of using a partially fictionalized and fully divisive narrative.
Now, I haven't watched Discovery. From what I hear, if it's pissing off these motherfuckers that much, I may go back and watch it because these. That's what I'm really drinking. I'm drinking little wimpy boy tears, and that shit is delicious. A little bit too salty. I'm kind of getting like some seawater effect, but let's continue.
As the starting point for the underlying message of their brand of Star Trek. Now, this is where the screaming choir will go nuts and claim that the so-called toxic fans are just problematic white males who are annoyed because women and people of color are suddenly pushed to the forefront.
Like has happened before. Literally, fucking DS9 had issues because the captain is black. Oh my god, the captain is black. Or Voyager, because Janeway. But let's continue.
Because as they would say, to the privileged, equality feels like oppression. No.
But it does. Look, I'm a guy, so, there are people who think that you have to be on top. And if you're not on top, then you're crushed. This shit isn't made up. Quite literally, you are whining for fucking 20 minutes saying that it didn't cater to what you are. So they're destroying it. They're pissing on your childhood. They're making you feel like, ugh. Like, the fuck are you talking about, dog? Guy? Literally. You're proving the point. You're being this. But let's continue.
That is your partisan ideology talking right there. The fact of the matter is that the toxic fans, as Shaybon calls them, don't have any issues with either women or people of color. In fact, many of those toxic fans just so happens to be women and people of color themselves.
So, you're saying that, for one, somebody can't have an issue based on this whole thing of I don't know. I don't know the best way to describe it, and so I'm gonna actually describe it this way. What you're saying is that people can't. Where the fuck am I at? Came from there. Okay. I'm trying to get to the soul system. There is so... Oh, I can actually make it hop to serious. So what you're saying, though, and I'm sorry, guys, I kind of got distracted there. But what this guy is saying is that because people said that they didn't like it, they must be part of the toxic fan base. No, that's not what he's talking about. That's not the conversation. Yeah, space the final frontier, right? But that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking of that, saying that oh, because black people didn't like it, because women didn't like it, then they must be part of the toxic fan base. You're trying to hide your critique of what he's actually saying with, well, they're just too woke, and the people that don't like it are just too woke, versus people that may just not like it for the story structure issues. But let's continue.
The problem is that Star Trek is no longer universal or humanist. Case in point, look to the Orville. It has diversity. It explores social issues, including transgender issues.
But the Orville is irreverent. It's a parody. So hear me out. There are a lot of people that take parody as, oh, it's good because it's making you laugh, or it's like there is no room for sarcasm or satire. It's either parody or fucking pizza cutter. And what do I mean by pizza cutter? All edge, no fucking point. But when something actually brings nuance to what the fuck is going on, then it's a fucking issue. But hey, you always have the next generation, which I guarantee you, if a lot of these guys go back and watch, they'd be like, oh shit, damn, that happened. Or a lot of these guys go back and watch the next generation movies, they'd be like, oh shit, that happened. But let's continue.
But it does so in the way that Star Trek did before, meaning it does it from a humanist point of view. And lo and behold, the very fans that Chabon would deride as toxic and anti-SJW love the Orville and are counting days for season 3. So clearly, the issue isn't representation or diversity.
Alright, thanks for letting me know that. Damn, that's a big that's a big bright blue star. Damn, that's a blue giant. The fuck? Damn, that's... Thank you, Princess Raya. But yeah, like, it's irreverent. That's it. And if the Orville was out now versus Star Trek: The Next Generation, and the shows that came along with it, the shows that came along with it, you would still pick the Orville because that's catering to your taste. Especially fucking Seth MacFarlane. Like, he's just irreverent, and a lot of people think, oh, that's cool. Like, no. Star Trek has always been political, but let's continue.
But rather the overarching narrative in which it is employed. The toxic ones here aren't the fans who object to a narrative that Chabon even admits is intentionally divisive, but the creators who made it that way. Thanks to the likes of Alex Kurtzman, Michael Chabon, and other enablers in their echo chamber, Star Trek today is no longer humanist, but fully partisan and ideologically driven. The creators of Star Trek today wear their party affiliation on their sleeve and fully infuse their political platform into Star Trek.
But yet, Roddenberry literally tried to make space communism. He literally made space communism on a military fucking ship. Like, think about that. They had no money. They had fucking replicators, so they didn't need any motherfucking workers. They had scientists and authors, and oh yeah, they had a motherfucking holodeck. So quite literally, they had space communism. It was more hidden fucking space Russia. That's what Star Trek was. Because they had definitely a military industrial complex. They definitely had the military arm actually controlling most of the governing body of the Federation. Because remember, the Federation had the Federation Council. And oh yeah, they had no fucking money. And the only thing they had was fucking rank. And then that can be quickly revoked by the XO or the medical, where there was the medical officer, or in some cases, Troy was even able to get her command in the later parts of the series. But let's continue.
As a result, Star Trek has become something it never was before. A propaganda tool.
Like, literally, you see Jonathan Frakes in this motherfucker. That's Jonathan Frakes. But let's continue. Like, he wasn't part of the original series and directed a lot of the episodes that motherfuckers hold dear. But let's continue.
We see this clearly in Star Trek Picard.
If you're intrigued by movies,
Yeah, let's let that play out.
but if you need to make movie,
Yep, sorry. Oh, look, let's talk about Picard losing his way. I don't know what could have made him actually lose his way. But let's continue.
Even before it premiered, Patrick Stewart and the showrunners let the world know what Star Trek Picard really was. An activist statement on Donald Trump as president of the US, on Brexit, on immigration, and even on Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister of the UK. Now, to be clear, these topics themselves are all good and well for Star Trek to cover.
But early in this video, you said you had no fucking stakes in the fucking election. You didn't have any stakes of where you left, but you have emotional stakes, dog. This is quite literally it. This is quite literally that you have stakes. Because you have the most important stake. The stake of fucking ego. But let's continue.
No issues there. The problem is how it's done, namely in the form of an activist statement. That means there is no actual exploration of the issues at hand. There is no digging into the conditions which led to the people voting for Trump and for Brexit respectively.
Wait, what? Wait, what? You don't have to start your timeline specifically at a motherfucking specific point. I'm sorry, you don't. You don't have to start. Well, the Federation Council has voted to make sure that we elect a dictatorial leader. The commentary is on how the state responded. It starts off with, I don't know, refugees that are escaping from an environmental disaster, and people are like, nope, not coming here. And oh yeah, we have this incident that caused us to have even more of a suspicion on other people. It's almost as if we have real world analogs. Oh yeah, wait, we do.
Let alone into the people's motivations and reasons for doing just that. None of those were accidents, but I guess...
This is what I mean by no imagination, or, and I'm going to change that. They don't have the wherewithal for some people to jump to an imagination. It's not an exact one-to-one thing, but the results are the same. The thing think, well, no, it can't be that. But yet, still, if you break it down to it, is a powerful, superpower that see other people, what they were considered enemies, in need of help, but they're saying, fuck you, They really don't want to do it. And oh yeah, we have this incident of this is a token way of us saying fuck you. But yet and still, it's almost as if these people can't see that shit. But let's continue.
A genuine exploration of that might have been too painful for the writers. Because here there is plenty of preaching, but no questioning of the writer's own firmly held convictions, or what these convictions could lead to if seen to their full conclusion.
Here's an idea. This is the shit that I hear always constantly. If you have a problem with it, then write your own fucking Picard show. What? The same shit that you actually tell all of the other people to do? That when they wrote their show, you're pissed about it? But no, of course, because this is your show, and regardless, it's your show, and you shouldn't. Oh wait, you're not writing the bullshit. You having an issue because it's their show, they're writing it the way they fucking want to write it, and now you're pissed. But let's continue.
So, what we end up with is an activist statement in which the writers and creatives in charge take for granted that their own political position on these subjects is self-evidently right and in no need of any kind of critical spotlight.
It's their motherfucking show. They can do it. It's their motherfucking show. It's not yours. It's you. You are a fan. A fan. Until you get a creative credit on this motherfucker, it's their show. It's just their show. I'm sorry, my man. It's their show. If you don't like it, stop making fucking 22-minute videos and stop watching the shit. If you think that they're going the wrong way, you can always just not watch. And damn, that ship is bright. But the station is bright, you know. But you can always just not watch, my man. But no, it doesn't fit your. It doesn't fit your the way you want it to actually be. So it must be a fucking problem. But let's continue.
Yet they lash out at the other side. On screen, this translates to what amounts to incoherent rambling. Examples of this are countless. So let's restrict ourselves to a select few and
just because you can't understand it doesn't mean it's incoherent. It's incoherent to you. But let's continue.
begin with one from the very first episode. As the star of the Romulan homeworld went supernova, Starfleet promised to save the Romulans, their historic enemy. However, an attack on Mars by rogue androids, or synthetics as they're called now, resulted in the destruction of the entire armada that Starfleet was building for the explicit purpose of evacuating the Romulan homeworld's inhabitants. So that rescue armada was gone. In response, Starfleet banned synthetics and reneged on its promise to aid the evacuation of Romulus, prompting Picard to resign and retire to his vineyard.
It's almost as if they didn't just abandon them. Like, I will say this: it was a point that was made where they did token relocation. I believe they said it was 98 million. I believe they said 98 million of the people of Romulus to the different planets that they actually moved to. Yeah, of course, it was fucking that. That's exactly what they did, but they didn't want to do the shit anyway. I was just saying, like, they did not want to do the shit. They wanted to actually say, fuck them. Y'all cause shit for us. Fuck you. But they were trying to be, I don't know, they were trying to be a little bit more magnanimous, but it didn't take much for them to say fuck it. And Picard actually resigned because he literally was trying to say like, well, if you don't do it, I'm gonna resign, because they're trying to get an armada of ships that they already have to fucking move the Romulans. But let's continue. Maybe I was watching the episode too much.
Since he had personally promised some Romulans here and there that Starfleet would come to the rescue. Starfleet hadn't lived up to what he promised.
I'm sorry. Like, for real. Like, for one, he didn't just personally promise the shit. And again, I know some of the shit because I have a fucking horrible way of remembering things. He literally, the guy that the black Romulan that he was talking about, literally says, "I was a senator. You came to our Senate house and says, hey, do this shit." And it's ironic because Romulans and Rome and all that other good bullshit. Anyway, but literally, he stood in front of the Senate of the Romulan Empire and says, we need to go. And he staked his reputation because he's the great Jean-Luc Picard, and everybody kept saying that. Like, the great Jean-Luc Picard, self-righteous, sanctimonious motherfucker that he is, and idealistic. That's what he was. He was literally idealistic. And that shit was for the birds. But let's continue.
And that made him bitter and angry, because Starfleet should have helped the Romulan refugees. Hammering in that point, we later see a pocket of Romulans that were evacuated to a planet full of resources. But
oh, yeah, you can go ahead and stay on this reservation. You gonna stay on this reservation, and we gonna treat you real well. Oh God, these people actually believe that it'd have been okay, and I don't know. Maybe some of the shit that Starfleet had been doing, where there were captains literally who fucking that would tow it back to try to be the ideal of Starfleet. Yeah, that shit did happen, but it wasn't. It wasn't a lot of captains. It was a lot of shit that Starfleet was fucking doing wrong just from the episodes that you would actually watch. Well, let's continue.
But who remained bitter and angry at Picard over Starfleet not coming back to give them some more handouts, as if that was somehow Picard's fault.
Starfleet literally has replicators where whatever they do won't cost them shit to help other people out. Literally have replicators. This is shit that is just ubiquitous technology. Quite literally ex nihilo, or out of nothing, fucking technology that replicates shit. It was a joke in Picard, like, whoa, god damn, that star is big. God damn. There was a joke in Star Trek Picard where Garati was like, so you replicated the eggs, the flour, and all this other good shit, and you put it together? And Maddox was like, yes. Like, because it always tastes better that way. And it's just like, but handouts. You say that they, like, no, they were shafted on, okay, we did a token resistance, let me put you over here where you can be out of our fucking way. And yeah, Picard, who considers himself to be the hero of the fucking Federation, saw what may have been trillions of people die because of Starfleet's inaction. I would resign too.
The message is clear though. We should have helped. That is, however, the only thing which is clear. Remember how I said that in Star Trek of old, they would sometimes explore a theme using an entirely fictionalized event, but nonetheless ensure it had real-world implications and applications? Well, there is none of that here, because this situation is so far out that there are absolutely no real-world parallels, and therefore no real-world applications to be taken away from this.
Remember I mentioned earlier about helping refugees that are running from what can be an environmental disaster? Ministry is a star. I'm gonna go to Sirius. Am I literally right there? I'm still in Orion? God damn. I'm still in the inner spur. I'm sorry, I'm going to stars that I know from the star map, so what did I just see, Sirius? I don't know. Well, let's continue.
We are not dealing with a lesser developed civilization that was torn apart by war or natural disaster, and that
Literally, it was a natural disaster. Or, I'm sorry, it was a, would you say, man-made natural disaster? The fucking Romulan star blew up because of the shit that happened in Nemesis. People literally had to leave a solar system because the sun was going supernova. But let's continue.
that has nowhere else to go or anything like that. Instead, we are dealing with the Romulan Star Empire, who are as or more developed than the Federation. You can't apply that to Syria or any other underdeveloped location on our.
He knew it was Syria. Oh my god! So he knows the bullshit. Like he knows the bullshit. He knows the bullshit, and this is the shit that I'm talking about. Like, this is the shit that I'm talking about. He knows the bullshit. Serious. He knows it. He knows the bullshit. So he is fully and completely aware that this shit is happening. But let's continue.
Our world. A real world parallel to this is something you'd have to make up. Like if California suddenly was hit by a massive earthquake and sunk underwater, or the Yellowstone caldera erupted, or something else which rendered a part of the US uninhabitable. But even if that were to happen, I very much doubt that Americans would sit idly by and expect China or Russia to save them, let alone rehouse them. Because there are plenty other worlds in the Romulan Star Empire already. The series then proceeded to show two Romulans happily working in servitude in Picard's household. But beyond that, it didn't address any issues with integrating a proverbial refugee Romulan population, or
Okay, so we're gonna go here. I'm gonna say this. First of all, they stated the only reason why they were helping Picard is because he had made some enemies, and the fact that he tried to help them and people weren't happy about the shit. He had made some enemies, and they were fucking literally Tal Shiar. But they were helping him because he did try to help. As much as they didn't like the fact that he didn't do what he thought he could do, he literally tried to help. But let's continue.
Any societal ripple effects that might result from that. Instead of any such exploration, which might have induced some level of cognitive dissonance, the creative settled for angrily preaching to the viewer, we should have helped. Which goes back to my initial point. Without any real-world parallel or application, we are left with incoherent rambling. And there is more of that going around.
Come on.
It's beautiful. I remember
After, 8 or so episodes of pure filler, the confirmation comes. It was the Romulans themselves that instigated the rogue synth attack, which led to the Federation banning the synths. That also means that the Romulans themselves were responsible for the destruction of the armada Starfleet were building to rescue them. But hey, the writers can't be expected to develop something as significant as that. Not when there is more preaching to do. Or rather...
It was actually stated that, hey, it was a half Romulan, half Vulcan secret agent who literally was trying to make sure that the fucking synthetic life wasn't created. And that was, I don't know, a secret fucking plan that worked because, hey, if we want to make sure that fucking synthetic life is not developed and make it seem like a taboo, we fucking make it done. We do it right. Damn it. Like, again, there are shit that we've done that we've seen in this real world that's just not out of anywhere that, you know, things are being ostracized so development wasn't going to be done or made. Like, literally, real world example, and this is a little bit less nefarious. The fact that oil companies get subsidies where solar power would actually be cheaper in the long run, but things that want to companies don't want to give up that power and that money that literally gives you the ability to write the rules by contract campaign contributions. But let's continue.
Incoherent rambling to blurt out. In the latter part of the series, we learn that banning research on and development of synths was a mistake, because the writers say so. Never mind that Elon Musk says developing too advanced AI is literally summoning demons.
Did you know if you sail so far to the other side of the ocean, you may fall off, or you may run into savages, or if you split the atom, then you can actually cause a chain reaction that will destroy the whole motherfucking planet. What? We've heard that shit before? Oh wow, no, we haven't heard that shit about robots. Asimov actually talked about that. Fuck. It's almost as if we've heard this shit before, you fucking moron. And I'm trying to do more than one video, but I think I'm stuck with this video. I think we're going to keep going and doing these for the next couple days, because I got about 3 videos of this shit. But let's continue.
Never mind that Stephen Hawking says AI could be the worst event in the history of civilization.
A physicist speaking about AI and metaphysical, not physics, but metaphysical or you know, philosophy, a physicist, because he's a physicist who, if we really look at it, some of the shit that he proclaimed, he was right about one good thing, but it was other shit that he ended up getting wrong. Read Hawking's radiation. Then he had to go back and correct. Fuck. I'm a fucking nerd. I know. I'm sorry. But let's continue.
Never mind that even great writers like Asimov, who is referenced on screen no less, had to institute the 3 laws of robotics to make AI even remotely safe in his robot stories. And never mind that Frank Herbert banned making a machine in the image of a human mind in Dune.
Yeah. And in Asimov's writing, in a few stories, he broke it. Like, literally, if you go to the story about iRobot, the iRobot was a lot different than the Will Smith movie. It was literally that by the time they figured out machines had already taken over, they had taken over. And instead of saying, fuck, we need to destroy it, it's like, shit got better. Oh, wait, shit got better, but they're controlling us. You know, we were kind of doing it to ourselves. Things are better. People are working less or stressed less, but they're controlling us. Is the system working better? Yes. Then shut the fuck up. What? Literally, they broke their story all the fucking time. If you want to speak about Asimov, the whole thing about the way the Starfleet has it now, where a lot of the computer does a lot of the functions, and the humans actually come up with certain things, but the computer does. That was Asimov's strength. But and not to mention that the robots in a lot of science fiction or early science fiction was just robot is the Polish word for slave. It was a fear that the underclass, which we give menial tasks to, are actually human, and maybe we should treat them better. But because Asimov said so from some blurb that you were reading. But let's continue.
Never mind any of that. These writers have decreed that we shouldn't have banned synths.
You know what? And that's the shit that, like, for real, Data was Frankenstein's monster. And not the whole, can't speak bullshit. Like, literally, Data and this whole system was really Frankenstein's monster, which literally did. I think he had a name. He turned out that he wanted that, or am I mixing something about? He literally was the new Prometheus, where it's what makes you human, what makes you a man. That's what this series actually explores.
The price to pay for doing so was the death of Riker and Troy's firstborn child, which they incredibly sat passively by and allowed to happen. That's very out of character for them.
They went to a planet where they... I think people actually... Okay. So Riker was somebody who followed all the rules. He may have looked like in original Star Trek. He was somebody that definitely followed the rules, even if it goes against his core values. He was ready to motherfucking kill Picard when Picard became a Borg, and he was like, "Fuck it." It was he was torn about the fact that like Riker wasn't this big rebel that motherfuckers think he was. He was the XO for a reason. But again, I don't know how much of these episodes that a lot of people were complaining, like the original TNG wasn't like this. We weren't watching the same thing. I'm sorry.
If this were the next generation, they would have hunted down Lore, or kidnapped B4, or sought out Dr. Sung, or something, anything, but not with these writers. Be that
What would gave you that idea? What? Let's go.
as it may. In this series, we eventually learn that while the Romulans have terrible timing, they surely could have waited with instigating that rogue synth attack until after the Armada had left to rescue their people. But they were nonetheless entirely justified in doing what they did. Because the Romulans knew from the best teacher of all, namely history, that every single time a civilization develops too advanced AI, the machines will inevitably rise against their masters.
It's something strangely racist about the way that shit is said. Like, for real. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. It's a dehumanization of a sentient life. And I know we're thinking science, like, I know it's science fiction, but it's just like, when the mud people actually think that they are big and bad enough to fucking say we're not gonna take this shit no more. They're gonna rise up and kill us. Like, for real, like, the biggest fear in that Measure of a Man episode was that they would create a race of fucking synthetics and treat them as menial tools, which they fucking did. Fuck, this was even in Voyager with the EMH holograms, where they started to treat them like motherfucking tools, and you'll see, the doctor was like, "Wow, my people are like shit." Like literally, Starfleet has a history of doing this to who they considered fucking people, and quite frankly, they kind of did the shit that they like. I don't know. And maybe because it's the amount of just shit that I've watched. I remember watching a cartoon called Exo Squad where the same shit came up. It's almost as if human beings, once they get to a level where they feel they can play God, they act like the genocidal, racist, motherfucking prejudiced motherfucker. But let's continue.
They even said so in Battlestar Galactica. All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again. Worse yet, somewhere out there, there exists this super advanced, super dangerous, nigh unstoppable machine intelligence which is intent on finding and nurturing any advanced AI that arises, all while eradicating the civilization that created it. And they can be summoned. Even Soji, poor...
Okay, so I kind of, and I forgot what it's fucking called, but one of the things that I don't know about that plot point about exactly, if you are evolved enough to live in fucking hyperdimension, you really don't, you really gonna go back and create a genocide because somebody was being mean to your effective cousin? If you're advanced enough to fucking create a hyperspace and sit outside of time and space, then why the fuck would you think, oh, we're gonna come and wipe out shit? Like, I'm sorry, that's just me. Like, maybe that's just the part of my brain which is just like, I'm not concerned with fucking ants. And I say this because that to me seems like a motherfucking test. And I don't know, maybe I'm just being an asshole and just thinking of it in a way that some writers would actually think of it, but to me that seemed like a motherfucking test, because if you're that advanced that you're sitting outside of time and space, something tells me that you wouldn't actually care enough to come and wipe shit out, you will come and pluck out the people that you're trying to save. People, synthetics, mortals, ninja, I just don't fucking care. And then you'll leave the stupid people to their own devices because they'll eventually destroy each other. But let's continue.
Innocent, sweet Soji, who up until 3 minutes ago thought she was a human, who Riker made pizza, who Riker's daughter embraced and gave a compass, and who that whole ragtag crew went to great lengths to rescue, turned on all of them and became hell-bent on destroying all life in the galaxy at the flick of a switch. Took Picard dying.
It's almost as if when people are scared, they do stupid shit. And if they only have examples of people that are fucking hurt or upset, they tend to do stupid shit. Or if they don't know any better and they're scared and they only have examples of shit people, then they do stupid shit. I wonder where I heard that from. And oh yeah, they had already killed her motherfucking sister and they were looking up for a way to wipe her and her people out. Am I missing something? Is it me that I can understand why somebody would be pushed towards that fucking fear? She never did it out of hatred. Their words were, they will never accept us. They are fearful of us. So let's call help. But let's continue.
To snap her out of it, but even then she had already alerted this super dangerous nigh unstoppable AI of our existence and location. Soji may be the destroyer yet. Those Romulan predictions were spot on, gotta hand it to their Nostradamus.
It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, let's just be honest. If they didn't push the way that they did, would she been in that position? Literally, she got pissed because dude tried to kill her. Her boyfriend tried to kill her. As a matter of fact, well, she did say she gets saliva, so maybe she does. Like, what is... Yeah, you can tell that I'm a fucking freak because I'm thinking, like, what is her vaginal juices made of? Like, do they taste like the nectar of the... Well, let's continue.
For the time being, it ends well, though, because the evil Romulans, who wanted to save us all, blinked, and the Federation lifted the ban on synths, so there will be many, many more ticking bombs among us.
So wait. What? Wait. Oh, because of the way somebody was brought into this world, figuratively speaking, they're inherently dangerous. Not more dangerous than the other people that are in this world, but these are just dangerous because they're different. Like, that's literally the argument that they're making. Like, there wasn't fucking Khan. Like, we have Khan. But of course, you know, he was a genocidal maniac, but at least he was non-synthetic. Well, he was biological synthetic, not just made synthetic. But let's continue.
Wait, how was this a good ending? And what real-world lesson are we to take from this?
I'm getting tired, guys. Here's the real-world lesson. Fear can cause you to do a lot of crazy shit. So maybe, just maybe, you don't want to kind of push people into a decision where they're looking at either their lives or, I don't know, just like, they're looking at their lives or, you know, maybe having to call down a fucking genocidal AI. Call it down Skynet. You know?
That I leave to you to interpret. But through the rambling, The writers are telling us that banning synths or being suspicious of them is wrong, even if every last one of them poses a potential threat to our continued existence. To be a good person, you should balance on the edge of that knife. Ignore the clear and present danger and live by the words, "Nah, it'll be fine."
I mean, like, I have a fear that this shit has been used for certain type of people that, you know, maybe they need to be subjugated, or maybe they are treated us like good people when we've done shit to them. I don't know where I would get that fear from. I don't fucking know. But let's continue.
In the end, Picard dies, sacrificing himself, so Soji will delay snapping till another day. But the writers graciously used this opportunity to give Picard and Data the final farewell they hadn't gotten in Star Trek Nemesis. Something they really congratulated themselves for in the media, all while fawning over their own brilliance.
Wow, these motherfuckers, like, does he not know what writers do? Writers self-insert, or writers praise what they do. Like, I mean, like, I guess, like, motherfuckers like him would actually, like, bench a Puro book, which is, like, total bullshit, but, you know, you would just think that motherfuckers are writer. Like, that's kind of what they do. But let's continue.
So yeah, good going, wasting an entire season concluding a storyline from a movie no one saw 20 years ago, and that they already...
I saw the movie. It was fucking awesome. It was a little bit cheesy, but everything was at that time. But, like, I saw the movie, dog. Let's continue.
had resolved, in a much more satisfying way I might add, in Countdown, the comic book prequel to the 2009 movie. But I guess they forgot about that, even if Alex Kurtzman himself had story credit on it. What made it even more pointless...
Wait. You're telling me writers try to come back and fix shit that they did in a comic or manga format in order to kind of make it fit better on a big screen that they've actually done before? I'm looking at you, Boruto, or Naruto, or Bleach, or Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball... Let's continue.
though, is that Picard never got that farewell, and neither did Data. Because according to this series, Data really died in Star Trek Nemesis. Despite all the fragments of him that may have survived, he did not. Data is gone. It was a reconstruction of his memories that got the final farewell with Picard.
We are literally talking about the fucking new Prometheus in a show that is clearly talking about transhumanism, that is clearly set in space, which no set distances are really actually given. Being realistic, did I miss something?
Only that wasn't Picard, because Picard is dead and gone too. His life and his soul had already expired.
They don't believe in souls in this fucking world, you motherfucking idiot. You, like for real. Fucking for real. And the question that they literally attempted with, the Napati episodes was, are synthetics real? The whole arc of Data in Star Trek, is he a real person? Their mythology doesn't have souls. It doesn't. they're fucking agnostics or even atheists, and even when they run into people with godlike abilities, they just say, "Oh yeah, this is another fucking alien race that can fucking bend space." Like, it's mundane that literally there are aliens in their motherfucking mythology that can literally make things ex nihilo or out of nothing. And they say, oh, yeah, it's either technology or just a natural ability. They don't have souls. They have consciousness, which conveniently, that's what they do. And they have brought people back to the dead by making sure they maintain their consciousness in motherfucking Star Trek. The Next Generation, excuse me. This is literally a thing. They literally found a ship of people that were dead for 250 years and says, hey, let's bring these motherfuckers back to life. It is part of their mythology, my man. But let's continue.
What met the copy of Data was a digital copy of Picard, put in an equally frail body as before. So keep that in mind for Season 2. You are no longer seeing the Picard you grew up with. That Picard is dead and gone, and no matter how many copies of him they make, the real deal will forever remain dead and gone. From here on out, we are dealing with a copy of him. This series was a hard watch for me. Unlike Star...
Where am I at? Fuck these people. How do I get there? I am literally trying to get to Soul. Oh, I can make it to Alpha Centauri. Okay, I'm sorry. I am really a fucking nerd. But let's continue.
Star Wars and Doctor Who. I actually am a fan of Star Trek, and I want to see that franchise thrive. In its current form, it does anything but. I see the Kelvin movies as their own thing, and in my own head canon, I can pretend Discovery never happened. But Picard, I can't ignore. It was the first step into the future of Star Trek we've seen since Nemesis, and they blew it. Where it should have been razor sharp.
But how did they blow it? How? Like, how the fuck did they blow it? Well, let's continue. I'm almost done. I'm tired, guys. I'm going to bed soon after I play with my joystick. Anyway.
It was dull. Where it should have been poignant, it was rambling. The return of Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, and the rest of the original crew should have been the fuel injection that brought Star Trek back to its previous heights. Instead, under the helm of these writers, it turned out to be yet another nail in the coffin of a once great franchise. And that hurts. Let me know your opinion on all of this, and on Season 1 of Picard, in the comments.
All right, so like, I can't. This is gonna be a 3-part miniseries of the Picard Maneuver, where I'm just like, man, fuck these guys, because a lot of these guys are fucking tripping, because what ends up happening is they are just motherfucking pissed because it's not the fucking Star Trek that they want to, even though it is reminiscent of a lot of shit. And I want to bring this up, and I know I'm going to bring this up in the fucking videos. The Romulans weren't their friend. The Kardashian conflict really fucked up Starfleet. And then, right on the heels of the Kardashian conflict, we had the Dominion War. Literally, where they was like, we can't trust anybody because, hey, the founders or all those people of shapeshifters could be anything and anywhere. And they actually released a plague to fucking destroy the founders. And oh yeah, please tell me again, how did Hugh become disconnected from the continuum? Not the first time. We know what happened the first time, but the second time. Because Starfleet wanted to fucking create a nasty little infinite problem regress. And the Borg was like, fuck that, we're not doing that. And they disassociated themselves with the Borg. But these are points that I'm going to have to bring up a little bit later. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And share the screen. Share the stream. As for right now, guys, I'm about to take my happy-go-lucky ass to bed. And thank you for watching. Peace.